I think that the people that have found me online, I think the people that know me on a personal level know that games, I don't play them. Not when it comes to me, not when it comes to my life, and not when it comes to my goals. I may jump and I may skip rope, but I don't play games about my life. And you shouldn't either. Welcome to Behind the Work, the show where we focus on all things leveling up, glowing up, and becoming our best selves. I'm your host, Jessica Santana, and I'm bringing you the tips, tricks, and strategies that help us reach our highest potential. So, whether you're working at a company, building your business, or you're just trying to level up, this is for you. At Behind the Work, we believe that we all have to go up together, so make sure you're tapped in. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Behind the Work, the show where we dive deep on all things leveling up, glowing up, and becoming our best selves. I'm your host, Jessica Santana. And if this is your first time tuning in, I want to say welcome to the show. So, December is such a special time of year for me, and I imagine it is a special time of year for many of us. I love this time of year because not only do I get to spend a significant time with my family and my friends and my loved ones celebrating the holidays, I also have the opportunity to create space to spend time with myself. I believe that the ritual of spending time with myself, at least for one entire day in December before bringing in the new year, sets me up for tremendous success over the next 12 months that I'm going to live. I've been practicing doing an end of year reflection for the past 6 years of my life, and it has been one of the most important practices that have helped me create accountability in my life to ensure that I am accomplishing the things that I want to accomplish on an annual basis. And it also gives me the space to slow down. I think a lot of us are moving at very rapid rates. We're taking on challenge after challenge, we're taking on goal after goal, and we rarely pause to really ask ourselves whether or not we're operating with a lot of clarity or we're just operating out of the sake of survival and having to get things done. And I think that when we optimize for just getting things done all of the time, we actually leave something really important on the table, which is the optimization of whether or not the outcomes of what we're looking for can actually be better if we slow down to do an analysis of where we currently are. I believe that when we slow down and reflect, we have the opportunity to ask ourselves, what happened this year? What shaped me? What challenged me? What made me proud? And I think it allows us to not have a year that felt blurry, a year that we can't recount or recap, and a year that we probably have tons of things to be proud of in the last 11 months, but we haven't even stopped to celebrate those things or talk about those things with ourselves. But when you do reflect and you do create the space in your life, you can really start to see the patterns of how you responded to things, the things that brought you energy, the things that fueled you and excited you, maybe some of the things that you put on the back burner, some shifts you made that you didn't anticipate having to shift. And I think that reflection as part of an habit gives us the opportunity to build self-awareness before we go into a new year, and it allows us to do more of an analysis on who we are and what we're about and who we've become over the last 11 months. We get to analyze our behaviors, the things that triggered us, the habits, the things we brought that were strengths to the table, maybe some of the things that were a little bit of blind spots. And granted, each and every one of us are using our time as best as we can, but I do believe that the ability to slow down gives you a lot when you put the effort to sit down by yourself or maybe with an accountability partner of some sort and actually ask yourself a list of guiding questions that help you recap the last 11 months of your life. Outside of that, I also think that, you know, reflection gives you the opportunity to really celebrate your progress. I know for me, I'm the type of person that I can get really lost and just going. I like motion. I love motion. I love the go, go, go spirit. At the same time, I think that if I didn't have the guardrails in my life to actually stop and think about what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, I would be prioritizing the sake of I would be prioritizing getting to the goal, but not necessarily enjoying the process. And I think that what reflection gives us is an opportunity to actually celebrate the progress that we've made. I also think that reflection brings a lot of clarity to what we want. Sometimes we're just doing things for the sake of doing things, but we're not asking ourselves, do we actually want to be doing these things or doing less of these things? We're not asking ourselves, are the things that are currently existing in my life, does that matter to me? Do I want less of it? Do I want more of it? And I think that when we do that, we miss really having the opportunity to bring alignment into our paths. And I also think that reflection just generally improves our decision making. I think the clearer you get on what you want and why you want it and what motivates you and what doesn't motivate you, you give yourself the opportunity to be more picky and choosy about how to put energy into the spaces that actually bring you a tremendous amount of joy on a daily basis and actually gets you closer to what you're looking for in life. And so today we're going to do something a little bit different. I've never really done a tutorial on the podcast before. And part of it is because the podcast is usually, something that you listen to and maybe something that you watch on YouTube. But I thought maybe for those that have access to the YouTube, they could open up the video. And what I'm gonna do is actually walk you all through my end of year reflection guide. It's the guide that I use on an annual basis to ask myself the things that I need to ask myself to give myself the opportunity to think critically about the past 11 months I've just lived. And it also gives me some white paper space or blank canvas of some sort to really start brainstorming on what goals I want to set. To be clear, the end of year reflection guide is not a tool that you use to set goals. It is a tool that allows you to cluster map your thoughts and ideas and feelings onto a piece of paper that then allow you to go and create goals for yourself and steps for yourself that are going to be really helpful to you in your journey. But I don't think that you can goal set or create objectives and key results for yourself if you don't actually take the time to explore who you've been the last 11 months, what has brought you happiness the last 11 months, and where you're trying to go the next 11 months that are to come or the upcoming year. And so, with that being said, I'm going to transition us now into a visual representation of the end of year reflection guide. I'm going to walk you through how it works and why I created it the way I created it. And make sure that if you have access to a computer and you have access to the time to really use the guide, that you do so. I find that this tool for me on an annual basis just provides me a lot. Reflection on an annual basis before you bring in new energy from the stars and the universe and God is just very divine. And I wish that everyone would prioritize creating the time to really sit down with themselves and do an analysis of where they are and where they're trying to go. So let's make the transition. All right, so this is the end of year planning guide that I am introducing to each and every one of you today. It is a free tool that is available on my website, and you all can download it as you wish and go through the guide in your own time and on your own terms. But this guide, I've been using it since 2019, and it has evolved with me over the years. The list of guiding questions I was asking myself in 2019 are very different than the list of guiding questions that I'm asking myself in 2025. And part of it is because I believe that reflection evolves as you evolve as a human being. And I think it's important for people to know that as they reflect, they should consider their reflections to be part of what is currently going on in their lives and what is relevant to them now, because there was a period where, like, maybe romance and love wasn't a part of my reflection, or maybe fitness wasn't a part of my reflection, like my wellness. But at this stage of my life, those things are important to me, right? And so I am making sure that every single year I am updating this to be as current as possible, because you want to make sure that your reflection on an annual basis really reflects the kind of goals and the kind of year that you want to have ahead based on the things that are important to you in the current moment. So for me, what is important to me for 2026 is faith and happiness, family and friends, fitness, finances, cleaning, and time and energy. And so you'll see that the sections of this guide have been broken up into those categories, because those are the categories that are most important to me. And because this is a tool that was created specifically for me, some of these areas might not be applicable to you. But if they are, I encourage you to use those sections. And so the first section is about faith and happiness. When I love God, I love me some God. And I think it's important for me when I'm doing my reflection to have a space where I get to talk about the intimate relationship that I have with God, because He is my source and He is what I leverage on a daily basis to make sure that I am in alignment with the divine path of my life. And these sets of questions that you have here have you basically creating an analysis of your faith over the last 11 months. Other things on faith and happiness is conducting an analysis of your joy. I think faith and happiness are directly intertwined with one another, which is why faith and joy actually live within the same section in my personal guide. And so that is what this section is for. And then the next thing, and I think this is the last page of this section, is to conduct an analysis of your behaviors. I believe that faith and happiness go hand in hand, and you have to conduct an analysis of those things. But I also think you have to conduct an analysis of your behaviors as it relates to this topic, because it allows us to identify our strengths and our areas of opportunity to improve for the coming year. And so this set of questions here is really, really meant to hold you accountable and to really ask whether or not, from a faith and happiness perspective, did you show up as the best version of yourself in the last 11 months? And if not, what are the things that are going to have to change? The other thing that I included this year was about family and friends. I don't know what it is about this season of my life, but community just feels so important to me. And I have felt so covered by community. I have felt so covered by my family and my friends over the last 12 months that I really wanted to make sure to have a section in my guide this year to ask myself whether or not I'm showing up as a good family member and as a good friend, and really ask myself what needs to improve in this area for me to feel like I am showing up as the best version of myself. Fitness, health is wealth. So for me, I got to look good. I got to feel good, you know? And that means that I need to be conducting an analysis on what my fitness regimen and routine was this year. If I had one, I really did have one. You know, I actually lost some pounds in 2025 and I feel really good. Like I feel hydrated. I feel like my skin is glowing. I feel healthy and I feel happy. But at the same time, there were moments this year where my health took a back seat. And so I'm using this section during my reflection to really make sure that I am honest with myself about what can't happen in the coming year. Another set of questions here really is meant to establish accountability, making sure that I'm setting up my appointments on an annual basis to cover, dental and vision and just, a general physical of my body. And then also establishing a health plan. You know, I want to be taking more regimented classes. I'm gonna be committing to Pilates and cycling this year. I usually do my own thing when I go to the gym, and then obviously I have my Peloton at home as well as my morning hot girl walks, which those are independent things that I do. But I actually want to be doing stuff in community in 2026. I think being able to leverage fitness to also build community is really dope. And so I am going to be establishing an annual health plan. And for those that find that this is important to you, I think the list of questions here are going to be really exciting for you to answer. Finances, I think we all got to have our money right. You know, the list of questions that I have here are going to allow me to really ask myself whether or not I invested in the right areas of my money this year. You know, I think that money is a tool. I think that money nourishes and nurtures an environment for many of us to thrive. And so I think you'll find that the questions here will really establish accountability for you to make sure that you're asking yourself some questions around things that maybe you did right, but maybe things you got to improve for the coming year, whether that is making sure you're maxing out your 401k, making sure that your brokerage account is actually getting its, routine debits out of your checking to make sure that it is being poured into, your accounts, making sure that if you have one of these IRAs that you're pouring your money into it. If you own properties, making sure that you are, covering the things that need to be covered there, looking at housing insurance, making sure that your property taxes are being, taken care of and all that stuff matters. And so make sure that you cover this. Other questions around money is making sure that you are basically creating your annual budget. I think that creating an annual budget is important. You know, you got to know what's coming in, but you also got to know what's going out. And you also got to really think about what your multiple streams of income are going to be. You know, for me, I have multiple streams of income. And so I like to think about like where's money going, in and where's money going out. I think having a command of your numbers is really important. And I think this section of the guide is going to give you a basis to think about how to create more realistic goals for yourself with your finances in the coming year. Cleaning is also important to me. I gotta get rid of things. I gotta order my closet. I gotta make sure that I'm not holding on to things that have no business being in my life, like maybe clothes or sweaters or hoodies or jackets that I don't need. I live a pretty minimalist lifestyle as it is. I don't keep a lot of things. I don't like to keep a lot of things. I think that things hold the energy and I want to make sure that I'm energy clearing as much as I can. So, decluttering and making sure that I am, keeping things or replacing things is important to me. And so this list of questions gets me to think about, what actually needs to be overturned, kept or donated over the coming year, or maybe even like as soon as the year comes around, because I do a deep winter cleaning of everything in my life. And again, more questions around cleaning and what you all can consider for reorganizing your life, and making sure that like things that you can put away, you do, things that you can relocate, you do, and how you can make your space more awesome. Like, do you want more art? Do you want more figurines? Do you want more cultural aesthetics? There was one year where I was like, hold on, I don't have any Puerto Rican flags in my house. Like, I need to go buy some. And I bought some Puerto Rican flags, I bought some Puerto Rican art, and now in my living room, you can see, my culture reflected in my home, which is important to me. And then obviously I have the section on time and energy. I believe that your time and your energy are important. I believe that your time and energy are inextricably tied to one another and how you perform in the world. I do connect time and energy to wellness as well. So even though fitness is its own category, I think time and energy had to be a separate one, just because of the ways in which I'm trying to isolate what I do for my health versus what I also just do to optimize my schedule. So those two things can't go hand in hand for the purposes of my reflection, but it is fundamentally tied with one another. So the list of questions here give you an opportunity to do an analysis of your time and your energy. And then that's basically it, everyone. That is what the reflection guide accomplishes. Make sure that you take it for yourself and adapt it to your own needs. And if you find that my reflection guide isn't helpful for you, make your own reflection guide. The goal here is not to follow my steps or follow, this guide specifically. The goal is to make sure that you are creating active space in your life to reflect, because it is important. It gives you clarity, it gives you motivation, it gives you the ability to call yourself on your own bullshit, right? Let's be honest. And so I think that, reflection is just everything. I hate to just keep on saying it. I feel like at this point I'm pounding the pavement, but it is really, really important. I have found that the moments where I skimp out on reflecting, I also just am playing about myself. And I don't think that I have an audience of people that plays about themselves. I think that the people that have found me online, I think the people that know me on a personal level know that games, I don't play them. Not when it comes to me, not when it comes to my life, and not when it comes to my goals. I may jump and I may skip rope, but I don't play games about my life. And you shouldn't either. And so, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I know this is very different in context. I don't know how it's going to go, but if you found that this tutorial was like super cool for you, like let me know. I would do more of these. I have ideas on like tutorials on like how founders and entrepreneurs really got to understand their P&Ls. I've thought about doing tutorials on like how to make dope pitch decks, how to manage your finances in more detail, right? So I thought about doing all that. And if this end of your reflection guide tutorial goes good, and you all find that you like this, I'll do more of these. And so thanks so much for tuning in, y'all. Make sure to follow us on social media, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on YouTube, and I will catch you all next week. Next week is going to be the last episode of the season, episode 33, Jesus Year. Jesus Year. I can't believe I did 33 episodes in 2 seasons this year. So wild. I'm mad proud of me, y'all. I'm mad proud of me. This is not my world, and so I'm still learning it. And the fact that I was out here producing 33 episodes is mad lit for me. And so just thanks to everyone who's been rocking with me. That really means a lot. And also it's 33 episodes, but next week is gonna be my final newsletter for the year, which means that I am closing the year on newsletter 50, which when I started behind the work and the newsletter, it really came from a place of just wanting to express myself and wanting to share my heart with the world because I feel like I have so much to give it. And so the fact that I got to 50 newsletters is so crazy. This has literally been a test to my creativity and how committed I am to nurturing my mind and my skill sets around just creating things that are in my mind and bringing them to life. And so, for everyone who's rocked out, thanks so much. Next week's episode will be really dope. So make sure that you tap in and tune in. And I'll see you all on December 16th for our last time together in 2025. Talk to you soon. Mwah. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of Behind the Work. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure that you subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and follow us on social media. I'm really looking forward to seeing and hearing how this show is leaving an impact on you.